Some crimes leave behind more questions than answers. Was this an act of cold-blooded murder or an escape from a life of torment? This is the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a girl raised to believe she was sick, frail, and dying, when in reality, she was the victim of one of the most disturbing cases of abuse and deception in modern history. It's a tale of control, manipulation, and a desperate attempt to break free. But the way it all ended left the world divided. Was Gypsy truly a victim, or did she know exactly what she was doing? From the moment Gypsy was born in 1991, her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, was convinced something was wrong with her. At least, that's what she told everyone. According to Dee Dee, Gypsy suffered from a long list of illnesses: leukemia, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, severe asthma, and even brain damage from a premature birth. By the time Gypsy was a toddler, she was already confined to a wheelchair. By the time she was a little older, she was undergoing countless medical procedures. By the time she was a teenager, she believed that without her mother, she would die. But the truth? Gypsy was never sick. Not even a little. Dee Dee had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a rare psychological disorder where a caregiver fakes or induces illnesses to gain sympathy and attention. And she was a master manipulator. Doctors who questioned her were shut down. Relatives who found her behavior strange were cut off. She convinced the entire world, friends, neighbors, even charities, that Gypsy was terminally ill. Make-A-Wish Foundation sent them to Disney World. Habitat for Humanity built them a free house. Celebrities and strangers donated thousands of dollars to help with medical expenses. Gypsy was trapped, not just physically, but mentally. She had no reason to doubt her mother. After all, she had never known anything else. But as she got older, the cracks in Dee Dee's lies started to show. By the time Gypsy turned 14, something inside her started to shift. She could feel strength in her legs, something her mother told her was impossible. She started noticing the lies, contradictions in her medical history. She realized that when her mother left the room, the doctors always treated her differently. And then, she found out her real age. Dee Dee had been lying about that too. Gypsy was not 14. She was 18. She had been legally an adult for years, but Dee Dee kept her believing she was a helpless child. It was the first time she saw the truth. But the realization didn't set her free. It made her a prisoner in her own home. Dee Dee tightened her control. She took away Gypsy's computer. She locked her in the house. She threatened her, manipulated her, and even had doctors remove Gypsy's teeth unnecessarily, just to keep her looking sick. But Gypsy had a secret. Late at night, when her mother was asleep, she would sneak onto the family laptop and connect with the outside world. And one day, she met a man online. His name was Nicholas Gojon. Nicholas was 23 years old, and he wasn't like other people. He had a history of mental illness, was diagnosed with autism, and had a dark obsession with violence. But to Gypsy, he was the first person who didn't see her as weak. She told him the truth. Everything her mother had done to her. She begged him to help her escape. But what they came up with wasn't a rescue plan. It was a murder plot. Gypsy later claimed that Nicholas came up with the plan, but text messages between them told a different story. She was involved in every step. She told Nicholas when Dee Dee would be asleep. She gave him instructions on how to get into the house. And on June 9, 2015, she left the back door unlocked. What happened next was pure horror. Nicholas crept into the house in the middle of the night. Gypsy was hiding in the bathroom, covering her ears. She later claimed she could hear everything. Her mother screaming, the sound of a knife slicing through flesh. The moment Dee Dee's life ended, Nicholas stabbed her 17 times, right in her own bed. When it was over, Gypsy came out, and what she did next shocked everyone. Instead of running, instead of calling for help, she and Nicholas had sex in the house, right next to her mother's dead body. Then they packed their bags and left town. Their plan? run away and start a new life. But it didn't last long. They left a major clue behind. Gypsy told Nicholas to post about the murder on Facebook. Just 2 days later, they were tracked down and arrested. The world was in shock. Gypsy, the poor sick girl in the wheelchair, was suddenly walking, smiling, and showing no signs of illness. And when the truth about Dee Dee's abuse was revealed, people didn't know how to feel. Was Gypsy a victim who had no other way out? Or was she a willing participant in a cold-blooded murder? The jury had to decide. Gypsy was charged with second-degree murder. Nicholas was charged with first-degree murder. But something unusual happened. Instead of being seen as a killer, Gypsy was seen as a victim of extreme abuse. Even Dee Dee's own family members said that she got what she deserved. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, true crime enthusiasts, and the general public were all glued to the case. Everyone wanted to know, how would the justice system handle Gypsy Rose Blanchard? The evidence was clear. She had played a direct role in planning her mother's murder. But there was another undeniable truth. She was also a victim. 4 years, Gypsy had been held hostage by Dee Dee's lies. She was robbed of her childhood, her independence, and even her ability to think for herself. And that was what made this case so complex. Should Gypsy be punished for taking part in a murder? Or was she already punished enough by years of abuse? Her defense team argued that Dee Dee was the true villain, the mastermind behind a lifetime of deception. The prosecutors, however, saw it differently. They pointed out that Gypsy had plenty of chances to escape without resorting to murder. She was smart, resourceful, and had already proven she could contact the outside world. And the most damning evidence? The text messages. Gypsy and Nicholas had exchanged disturbing messages leading up to the murder. They had planned every detail. She had instructed him on when and how to kill Dee Dee. This wasn't a spontaneous act. It was premeditated. In the end, Gypsy took a plea deal. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison for second-degree murder. With good behavior, she was released in December 2023. For Nicholas, things were much worse. Unlike Gypsy, he had no history of abuse. He wasn't trapped. He wasn't manipulated. He had a choice, and he chose murder. Prosecutors painted him as a dangerous, obsessive killer who saw himself as Gypsy's dark protector. His defense team tried to argue that his autism played a role in his actions, that he was socially disconnected and deeply in love with Gypsy. But the jury didn't buy it. They found Nicholas guilty of first-degree murder. And the sentence? Life without the possibility of parole. For Gypsy, prison became a new kind of freedom. And for Nicholas, prison became his new life sentence. Even after the trial, the world remained divided. Some saw Gypsy as a victim who had no other way out. Others believed she had become exactly like her mother, a master manipulator. Psychologists called it a case of learned helplessness. After spending her entire life under Dee Dee's control, Gypsy couldn't imagine any other way to escape. She truly believed that if her mother was alive, she would never be free. And perhaps she was right, but the chilling part? Gypsy is absolutely free now. Her release date was December 2023. For the first time in her life, she will step into the world without Dee Dee watching her every move. But what happens next? Can someone who grew up in captivity truly adjust to normal life? Will Gypsy get her second chance? Or will her story take another dark turn? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into true crime, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We bring you real stories, real crimes, and real mysteries. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button now and join us for more chilling stories.